I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a drawer. I remember saying that I'm a drawer. I didn't really get the language for that until high school.
It was a beautiful time in my life, and I feel like through my art, I'm extending it.
It was a way for me to kind of work through feeling ordinary or even subpar. And then in these stories, there was another life that I could live.
Yes, I made artwork as a child, and also in another sense, I'm making artwork now as I did when I was a child.
When I became a parent, I was really struck by this new person that was in my life, by all of his ideas and his imagination and his needs and his competencies. And it was really in becoming a parent and in starting to talk to artists who were parents that I began to think about the creative source of children and of childhood. And that led me to ask a really simple question: how have artists been inspired by childhood?
The exhibition is called To Begin Again, and that is drawn from a quote by the writer June Jordan. It's from a short piece of writing that she did as an afterword to a compendium of poetry that were published by children.
So the exhibition features 40 artists from all over the world. These include some really well-known artists like Jean-Michel Basquiat and Klee and Faith Ringgold, as well as a lot of emerging artists. There's been a lot of exhibitions that have featured pictures of children and representations of them, but this exhibition is unique in asking the way that childhood has impacted the working practices of artists, have provided sources of inspiration, how children have been collaborators with artists, and all of the myriad ways in which caregiving and parenthood has also been an important impact on artists' work.
It took me years to circle back to my intelligence, my creative intelligence as a child, making arrangements of pictures the way that I did when I was a teenager. That's always how I made sense of the world, but I think for a long time I didn't understand that as sophisticated, or I was groomed to not understand that as sophisticated.
The sense of curiosity, playfulness, openness that I had as a child, I'd love to hold on to that.
And it definitely helped me when I would go deal with these kids that were taunting me, because I was like, well, I have Torpedo Boy. Like he's this character that gives me confidence and helps me move forward with confidence.
In talking to artists, I realized that there were so many larger cultural themes that were really brought up through childhood, especially thinking about questions of power, thinking about questions of care, thinking about what are the sources of creativity that art history has not paid attention to.
There was a time when what we assumed, or what was assumed, was a natural, inevitable, timeless, universal childhood was actually a childhood enjoyed by just a very few people. Wealthy, European, white. It was also a very restrictive notion of childhood in its assumption of such a total blank innocence that it did not allow for a very great range of emotion, or indeed for children's own input into what they were experiencing. And Ruth's exhibition changes all of that.
We've made a selection of just 5 of this furniture, and then some of the canvases that will fit into these desks to be able to decide which ones are going to be shown over the course of the exhibition.
If you would like to vote for canvas number 1, raise your hand.
Yep.
Okay,
That's wraps.
Oscar Murillo asked us early on how we might, what he described as agitate the archive. And that was really how we might collaborate with young people. So I immediately turned to my colleagues in the Teen Exhibitions program and asked if they'd be interested in working with me on this project. And they were.
I just really appreciate the detail into this one.
I like both of them, but I can see this one better.
I was between that and that.
It's unanimous at this point.
I was between that.
I think the beauty and the love and the innocence of children, I think we need to highlight more in our lives. We need to understand why we exist and what we're existing for, is to make good people that exist around the world.
We endeavored throughout the exhibition to really illustrate the idea that there is not a single childhood, that there's not a single uniform idea of childhood, but rather that there are as many childhoods as there are children.
This is part of, a tradition of exhibitions, I would say, that has been to expand the blinders of museums and art histories, and in this case, to really center those figures who are ever present in our lives, but also don't have access to a lot of power, and especially cultural power.